The Transform Your Mind radio hour is a journey through the mind, offering fresh approaches to old problems that plague the African American woman and youth. Host Myrna Young, life coach, and Arifa Youssef, social worker, discuss topics such as relationships, depression, the single life, how to supercharge your marriage, poverty mindset, and more. Tune in every Wednesday at 5 p.m. and transform your mind to transform your life.
Welcome to the Transform Your Mind to Transform Your Life radio hour and podcast. I'm your host, Coach Myrna Young, and in the co-host chair is Miss Arifa Youssef Mortley. She is a social worker and mental health counselor. And today we are going to be talking on the topic, living the single life with the right mindset. Today's episode is supported by Columbus Financial Coach. Are you in a deep hole of financial depression with nowhere to turn for help? Constantly being harassed by collection agencies? Then visit Columbus Financial and Success Coach at www.columbusfinancialcoach.com. Awesome. All right. So, as I mentioned earlier, today we want to talk on the topic, living the single life with the right mindset. So, for the single women out there who are listening, are you believing in God for a partner? Then this is your in the meantime experience. How you navigate it will determine your success in getting the man of your dreams. I believe that when you are ready, the right partner will appear. You ever heard the saying, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear? Same thing. When you are ready and prepared, then God or the universe or the law of attraction or whatever you believe in will send you the man of your dreams, the one that's right for you. So, that's what we're going to discuss today, what you need to do to get yourself ready. So the first thing is you have to work on being the best you. Become clear on your strengths and the areas that need improvement. And take this time to really embrace your strengths and work on the things you need to improve. So for example, are you a good housekeeper or a good cook, but you lack self-confidence and self-esteem? Then work on improving your self-confidence. A lot of times, our lack of self-confidence comes from partners who have trashed us and made us feel unworthy. So this is a good time to, get those negative comments out of your head and work on your self-esteem. Believe in you. The second thing is you also need to be clear on why you want a partner. Again, you have to want a partner for the right reason, because if you don't, you will sabotage yourself and it will backfire. So, do you want a partner for security, to help pay your bills? Not good. Do you want a partner because it's culturally acceptable to be married or in a relationship? Not good either. Are you looking for a partner to complete you? Now, there's a time when everybody wanted somebody to complete them. Tom Cruise in the movie Show Me the Money made it so romantic and so perfect, and everybody was going around saying, "You complete me." It's beautiful, but if you wait around for someone to complete you, then that means that you're not happy by yourself. You're not complete as you. So not so good either. And the last one is, are you looking for a soulmate, an equal partner to share your life where you give as much as you get? Now, that's the right answer. So you see, many women and some men are out there looking for a partner that contributes something to their lives, but they never consider what they are bringing to the table. So why should someone choose you? You're out there looking for someone that you're looking for because you've got this list which we're going to talk about. But, the man has a list too. So he's looking for a certain kind of woman. So why would they choose you? So you have to work on what you bring to the table. Now, the second thing we want to look at is, so where do you meet this man, right? So many people say, I want to meet, the partner. I'm tired of being single. But, yeah, where do you find them, right? It's very hard to meet people. So here are some of the most popular watering holes, and I like that term, watering holes, because that's where you go meet. A watering hole in the Bible is where you meet up for water, because everybody, in the city comes there for water. But, when we're going to a watering hole is because, we're looking for a partner. We want to drink too, right? Not necessarily water. We want to drink on the happiness of life, right? Because, we're not islands. We're all our happiest when we're in a relationship. So, church is one of the top places to meet a mate. Bars, gyms, sporting events, networking events, house party, the office. Now, most Christian women would love to meet their spouse or partner in the church. But that is rare, because most men in the church are already married, or they're single and they're using the church as a watering hole. I couldn't believe that when I heard that, but it's very true, because the men that go there, the single men that go there, know that all those single women in there are looking for a man, and they use that to their advantage. They go there, they make it their watering hole. Now, bars are the most popular place for a single person to meet people. But again, you have to be careful, because, again, the men know that women in there are looking for a man, and they go there for casual sex and for a hookup with no commitment. But in every scenario, there are exceptions to the rule. And you don't go around making blanket statements that you can never find a good man in a bar. Not true. You can meet your life partner in a bar. I've met, several of my relationships in a club. I don't want to call it a bar. You would go dancing. And my daughter had the perfect combination. She met her fiance in the club, but he came up to her because he knew her from church. So it was perfect. He says, "I know your mom." Right. So yeah, I was in that hookup. And I met my husband on a train. He was the officer who checked the tickets. And he saw me, I looked at him, he looked at me, and there was like an instant connection. So it was awesome. I took the train home every day from work, and actually to and from work, and he worked the evening shift. So that was basically how I met him. But the train is definitely not a watering hole. But, again, if, I think he's my soulmate. And I think soulmates will attract each other like a magnet in any place. You can be at the gas station. You could be walking to your car in a parking lot. You can be in a grocery store. You can be at the bus stop. Anywhere, two souls will meet. I've met relationships at a car wash. I walked in a car wash, and this guy said, "Wow, you have such presence." And hey, we hooked up, right? A friend can introduce you. You meet at a club I mentioned before, at school, a bus stop, anywhere you can find a committed relationship if two people are in agreement and their souls connect. The newest place that I want to mention, and we'll bring Arifa in the conversation, are now the dating sites. Now, again, like I mentioned, there's good and bad things to everything. But what I like about the dating sites is that everyone in the site has the same goal. You don't go on a dating site unless you want to meet somebody. So you have the same goal. There's commonality there. And I'm a realtor. So I would make the equivalent analogy to why I love for sale by owners. Because for sale by owners already know they want to sell their homes. I don't have to convince them to sell their homes. All I have to do is convince them that I am the right agent to sell their home. The same with the dating site. You don't have to convince someone to be in a relationship. That's what they want. The only thing that you have to convince them is that you're the one that they're looking for. So, Aretha, from a mental health perspective, what do you say, what will you share with women so that when they meet someone and you're talking to them in wherever watering hole or wherever scenario, that they're sending out the right vibes? Because the wrong vibes turns people off immediately and they don't get any further. So, okay.
Okay. Well, I feel like it's really challenging sometimes because sometimes you could be giving off the right vibes, but then the person you're speaking to, depending on like the space or the situations or their own intentions and interest, they may be giving off a vibe for you to run, right? So it's important it's true. Right. Sometimes you're giving off all the great vibes, and then it's like,
I like that one.
I'm catching a negative vibe from this person.
Mm-hmm.
So I say it's important for those seeking a mate to be mindful of their own expectations firsthand, and then also just having some personal boundaries for themselves and also for others, so that when they're engaging in these conversations with this potential mate, they can better be aware of like what are the right vibes that they're looking for, but what are some key negative vibes that they should be able to pick up on, so then they know for themselves when do they want to continue to interact with the person, but then also when may they want to back out and when they realize, like, hey, you know what, this person is sending vibes that I'm not really into. Maybe I was attracted to them at first, but now as I'm having the conversation, I don't really think this is, the person that I want to continue on to get to know. So some key tips I would give are, before you go looking for a partner, get to know yourself first and understand your past relationships. So what worked, didn't work. This will help get you ready for a relationship, or even just in terms of looking for like signs and what may be a healthy relationship. Go to spaces where you may find someone with a similar interest like you. So I know, Myrna, you talk about watering holes. So find a watering hole where maybe it's, an interest. So like for you, you mentioned going to the club if you're someone who likes to dance, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
So if I'm somebody, and as an example, I listen to, I don't know, soca.
Right.
I'm not, and I'm looking for somebody, that, really is into that. I'm probably not going to go to, another club where they may play music that I'm not really that interested in.
Yeah, like
because then I may find someone that,
right.
It's like, I can't dance. I don't know how to line dance. Maybe I'm interested in learning. Maybe they can teach me, and I throw in a little soca wine in there. But it's good to, it's true. But it's good to always, like, go to the watering holes or the spaces where you feel like you have an interest in, what's happening there. You feel comfortable, where you also feel like you can exude your best self, right? Because when we're in spaces where we feel comfortable, we usually give off positive energy and confidence, right? And then most likely you'll attract a like-minded person that will give off the similar energy that you're giving off. And then also for the last one, be assertive and clear when communicating, engaging in a conversation to discuss the common interest with the person. So if you meet up with somebody and you start to talk, listen, watch their body language, identify their personal traits. I know you can't figure everything out in one night, but sometimes you could see a lot about an individual. So if they're extrovert, do they agree with everything you say? Are they conscientious? Are they, displaying some, neuroticism? Are they open to new experiences? When we have conversations with people, we can usually catch a vibe and hear some in the conversation some of these things. And then that should help you determine if you want to continue getting to know them or not. And then last, if you know your boundaries and you feel the person's not respecting them, then you need to have your exit and your safety plan ready. I know we always have to call your friend, let the person, let somebody know, like, hey, I don't feel comfortable. This person's not backing away. And so, I would say it's always mindful. Just be mindful of the conversations you're having with people, the energy you give off, but also the energy they give you, and then also knowing what your boundaries are if you want to back away from the situation to do it safely.
Wow, that's some good things that I didn't even think of. I've been out of the dating game for a while. But the last comment that you made about an exit plan, if somebody violates your boundaries, that's very interesting because I had a guest on the show before, and she was a clairvoyant, and she was single, and she was meeting people on a dating site, and she was saying that one of the guys that was trying to hook up with her and on the dating site wanted to meet at a popular bar. And because she was a clairvoyant, she kept getting this picture of the parking lot, right? And she ended up didn't go on the date because she was able to pick up that he wanted to do something to her in the parking lot, right? Mm-hmm. So that is a good conversation for us to have, because when you are like, a lot of women are meeting men on dating sites. I think it's almost like 50%. It's very high. And you've got to be cognizant of picking up vibes, being able to be in a space where you can, sure, I mean, if you're smart, you're not going to go to someone's house or meet in some place that is that is not safe. But even when you go to a regular restaurant or something, you have to think of your exit strategy if this guy is a real creep or, he's giving out these bad signs, or you're thinking it's a serial killer or something. You know what I mean? You have to pre-plan your exit strategy. So that is something that I would never think about. So, but you're in this space, so that's good. Mm-hmm.
This day and age, you just got to be so careful because people are really good at telling you what you want to hear. Sometimes people research you more, than you think. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you go to the same. I know girls have told me I've gone to the same spot every Friday, and they may not have noticed somebody, but somebody's noticed them right. and watching them, and then they kind of know their vibe, they know their music. They're like, oh my God, this is your favorite track, this is my favorite track. But it's because you noticed every time the track comes on, she's jumping up to dance. So they have those people, we call them finessers. They finesse the situation. They come in there and they feed off of you, and they know what it is that you want. And then once you really get to know them, they're not that person, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like you should always listen to your gut, And sometimes the body language is a clear sign, but if the person's always by themselves coming out, it's like, where's your friends, man? Like that's always been a key. Well, that's always been a key thing for me. Like it's cool to come out by yourself once in a while, but it's like a club scene. You don't really see a lot of people go to the club by themselves all the time.
Right. Yeah.
So I would be
weirdo looking at
what's going on here? And that's like a clear. That's like a sign, right? So so we could go on for that forever about all kinds of people out there, all the finessers in the world out there.
Yeah.
But there's so many, so I think it's important for every woman to recognize signs and have an exit plan because you just never know.
Yeah, I like that, and I also like the the watering holes because I listed quite a bit of them. But go to the ones where you are more comfortable. Like, if you're into the gym, then that's a good one. You go to the gym, or, you like certain type of music, you go there, you know what I mean? And sporting events, I mean, a lot of guys would love a girl that likes football or like basketball or stuff like that. So they're looking for somebody that's interested. And if you are, then that's someplace you're comfortable. So that's awesome. Yeah, I love your tips. All right, so we are off to a rocking start. You got some good content from me and from Arifa. So let's take our first break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about some of the things that you can do in the meantime while you prepare for the love of your life. So don't go anywhere. We're going to be right back. Are you in a deep hole of financial depression with nowhere to turn to for help? Constantly being harassed by collection agencies? Then Columbus Financial is here to help. Get the financial freedom that you deserve. Visit Columbus Financial and Success Coach today. for help on financial planning, money management, debt management, credit repair, credit consulting, financial life coaching, and success coaching. Let one of our financial experts help you today. Get your financial and personal life back in perfect alignment. Visit our website at www.columbusfinancialcoach.com. Once again, that is www.columbusfinancialcoach.com. And dig yourself out of financial depression. Welcome back to the Transform Your Mind to Transform Your Life Radio Hour. I'm your host, Coach Myrna Young, and in the co-host chair is registered social worker and mental health counselor, Ms. Arifa Yusuf Mertley, and we are talking about the single life. You're in the meantime experience. So in our first segment, we talked about watering holes. We talked about some ways to prepare yourself while you're waiting. And Arifa, shared her tips on when you're out there talking to a prospective mate, some of the things that you should be aware of. And because just like how they're interviewing you, because it's really an interview, they're interviewing you, you're interviewing them, right? You just don't go hook up just because somebody said hi to you, right? So, all right. So now, I have always loved this book, and this is the book that made Ayanna Van Zandt famous before she was on with Oprah, Fix My Life, and before she was a life coach and speaker, she was an author, and this was her first book. And for some reason, maybe I was single, I don't know, but I read her book way back in the 80s, and I actually have it as part of my library. So when I was, preparing this segment, I thought that I should go and, share some of the top synopsis of the book. And this book is called In the Meantime, Finding Yourself and the Love You Want. Important there. You got to find yourself first. I love quoting sayings, but they're saying that you can't give away what you don't have. So you have to find yourself. You have to love yourself. If you want to give love and to receive love, you got to love yourself. So I want to share some of the top concepts of this book with you because, again, if you're single and you're wanting a mate, that means you're in the meantime, you're waiting, right? But without even picking up the book, one of the things I remembered way back in the 90s from this book is that she said that you have to start living like you're already in a relationship. Prepare your mind, and you're saying to yourself, I am waiting, I'm going to have a relationship. So when you park in the driveway, you don't just park in the middle because you're not expecting anybody at a car. You park on your side of the garage or the driveway. You sleep on your side of the bed. Little things like that is telling your mind that you're mentally preparing for a partner. So here is the synopsis of the book. Looking at your single life as a 3-story house, complete with basement and an attic. And she calls this Love's House. Loving yourself in the meantime while you're waiting on another person to love you. So when you're in the basement of Love's house, you're pretty miserable. You're hurting. You're lonely. You're disillusioned. Your emotions that you're feeling are blame and anger and fear. You fear that you never find someone and you're always being alone. You're angry at the person that hurt you. You're blaming others. So how many of you know that these negative emotions can never make you feel good? And also would also repel anyone else, because when you're in that kind of a framework, you're not attracting anything good. You're attracting much of the same. We talked about energy and we talked about law of attraction in one of our previous episodes. If you missed it, go download that, because, you know, how you feel is very important in the quality of life that you have. So, in the basement, you're not feeling good, right? But it's also a place for healing. If you stop, feeling sorry for yourself for a moment and stop having a pity party, maybe you will start to understand yourself, understand what happened. Because if you don't fix yourself in the basement, you will carry that baggage and hurt into your next relationship. So, before I go any further, I want to put a pin here for a moment, because this is a perfect time to bring in the mental health counselor. So, Arifa, women, they're in the basement, whether youth or, young women. How do you counsel them on getting over hurt and blame and, all those negative emotions?
Mhm. Well, hurt and blame is like something I think, like a lot of people go through, especially when you are in a relationship and then you're newly single, whether it's a short-term relationship or a long-term relationship. We all go through a lot of stuff. So the first thing I always say, which I feel like a lot of the list I'm going to do, I have a feeling is going to be similar to you, because I know this is a hot topic for you too. And I know the life coaching for this is really similar, but the first thing I always say is you need to identify and validate the pain, because often we brush it off. Some people brush it off with liquor. Some people brush it off by, having promiscuous sex. Some people brush it off by, just, burying themselves under the pillow all day long. But either way, you have to identify and validate the pain that, you're going through, whether it's just the pain of being single, whether it's the pain of the person cheating on you, whatever it is, you need to have that for yourself. Then you just need to express yourself. So whether the expression is talking to a friend, family member, some people, they're really going through it and, they may need to speak to a counselor as just a way to get it all out, soothe the painful emotion, and just kind of find the support on their journey to healing. I always say self-care, so taking a break and finding time for yourself, finding time to figure out what are the things that I enjoy, because sometimes you lose what you enjoy in that moment because you're just overwhelmed with the pain, or overwhelmed with just being single. Yeah, single. Oh my goodness, what's going on with me today? With being single, because sometimes you go out, you see all your friends, they invite you places, and they're with their man or their woman or whatever, and you're just like, hey, wait a minute, I feel like I'm the third wheel here. And sometimes even that can be overwhelming. So I always say, you know what, take that time for yourself. Take a break. You're single. Now it's time to, find who you are, because we invest so much of our energy into other people. This is a time for you to find who you are. It's time for you to go in the movies, get your hair done, do creative stuff, bake, whatever it is that you need to do. It's time for you to find that time for yourself, and then learn from it. An attitude of learning will help you discover the value in the experience that you went through. You may also just discover a curious new freedom. Recovering, from an emotional trauma or heartbreak makes you feel stronger and wiser and more resilient, even if you may not feel that way in the moment. 2 years, 3 years, maybe even 2 weeks from now, depending on who you are, you might look back on that and say, hey, you know what? I'm actually glad that person, was gone. Maybe I didn't have the strength to get rid of them, and then, they found somebody else and they left, and kudos to that person.
Yeah, I love
because
that.
now I realized that person wasn't for me,
Right.
And so I think those are important, for anybody that's single, to kind of go through that process and get to a point of saying, you know what, I'm resilient and I'm ready to move on because I understand myself and I understand the situation I was in, and now I understand where I want to be and go and who I want to be with.
It's awesome. You always bring it, Arifa. You always bring it. Good stuff,
You got so many single friends out there,
Well, no, whatever the topic we're talking on, you always bring it. I love it. So you talked about some good things there, and there's only one that's similar to, what I'm going to talk about, and that is, learn from it, but, and self-care. But whenever somebody is talking, my mind always drops in something. My pastor would say, "Oh, I hear the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit just dropped something in my, whatever." And when people are talking, I always get something that dropped in. And I was talking to a very good friend of mine this morning, and his wife, walked out on him or whatever, and he's hurting. It was like the first night, and he's hurting. And as he's talking and is expressing himself and getting it out and trying to feel better, right? I ended the conversation by saying, "What do you love to do? What can you do to make yourself feel better?" Because I know when I'm in that kind of space, I already know the things that will make me feel better, right? So I asked him, like, "Do you want to go pump some weights?" My husband does that, pump some weights or whatever. And he couldn't think of anything other than watching a movie, but that's okay. But and the only reason he wanted to watch a movie is because it takes his mind off what he's thinking. You know what I mean? So yeah, self-care is very important. Everybody should have a happy place that they can go to when they want to feel good, and it's not necessarily if somebody leaves you or you're hurting or somebody whatever, but once in a while you do get in a funk. You had a fight with somebody and you're not feeling good, and you've got to be able to know what to do to get yourself out of that funk, else that becomes your personality, because you're always going to be in a funk and you never know how to get yourself out of it, and then it becomes like your temperament. So it's very important. So good stuff. All right.
Thanks for sharing that.
What was that? Yeah. Well,
thanks for sharing that one. Yeah, because there's a lot of I like that you used the male, because there's a lot of males out there that are in similar situations as well too. So it's nice that you're able to highlight that.
Yeah, I know. We're catering to women, but men has the same problems too. All right. So moving on along. Now we're in the first floor. So when you're in the first floor of love's house, you're no longer miserable, and you're able to look objectively at why you attract the people in their life that you do. Some women attract men who are always emotionally unavailable. Some women attract men who are always abusive, unsupportive. You have a pattern, and clarity is one of the most important things in coaching and consciousness, even maybe in mental health. You have to be aware. You can't fix something that you're not aware of. So you've got to be aware of your patterns. And, talk to somebody because it's hard for you to break a pattern on your own. You'll need a coach, you'll need a therapist or somebody that can help you break that pattern, right? But you can be aware of it, right? My husband was a police officer, and he would say that the same women are always attracting men to beat them up, And I know as a mental health counselor, you see that all the time. You know that you just attract those kind of men, right? You don't go looking for it, but you just got the signal, and that's what you attract, right? So on the second floor of Love's Single Girl's House is where you change the dialogue from victim to player. I have a whole section in my book about becoming a player, and I don't mean a player where the typical term where the man is always a player and going out there and just, copying women. A player means that you look at life from the perspective of a dealer or, playing the game of blackjack. You look at what you got and you figure what your next move is. You become a player in life and not a victim. A victim feels that they are have no power, that everything is happening to them, and they have no play, and they have no way that they can design their life. They're just a victim. So in order to change yourself from a victim mentality to a player mentality, you have to educate yourself to play. You have to read books on love and relationships. You listen to podcasts like this one on relationships and mental health. And you have to start improving yourself. And the goal is to make yourself the picture card that everybody wants in blackjack and that every man wants, right? You're the picture card. And the most important lesson on the second floor is that there is nothing wrong with you. You are enough. And any man should be happy to have you. And I know that if you've been beating yourself up and men have been telling you all these things and you feel you're not good enough or something is wrong with you, you just say it until you believe it, right? If you need convincing, you say it every day. You look yourself in the mirror and you say, I'm good enough. All right? Moving along, the third floor is when you are living the single life and loving it. You are loving being a single woman. You're not lonely. You're content with yourself. You're whole. You have friends. You don't need anyone to complete you. You're confident, self-sufficient, courageous, and you're beautiful inside and out. I will tell you, the men will come running to you like a magnet because that's the kind of woman that they're looking for. Someone that's complete in herself, and she doesn't need anybody to complete her. She is just radiant, right? And the last floor is you shower yourself with unconditional love. This is the attic, right? You know, not everybody gets here, but if you get here, then this is good. You definitely need to be at least on the third floor, right? But, you know, when you're on the attic, you shower yourself with unconditional love. You're able to give love and also receive love because a lot of us have a problem receiving. And this is where you'll begin to attract the perfect partner. Like I said that in the third floor. You will become to, you know, but here, again, this is just icing in the cake. This is icing and sprinkles on top, right? Because you're not negative and negativity does not live here. And you know what you want. And this is also one of my favorite phrases. Who you seek is also seeking you. So you don't have to work very hard. You walk into that favorite watering hole of yours, and as soon as you walk in, some man is going to spot you, and he's going to be, you know, like Aretha said, sometimes they watch you for a little while before they come over and talk, but he will notice, and that is important, right, because he's looking for you. All right, so any supporting comments on the levels of Love House before we take our second break? And then when we come back, we're going to talk about some questions that our listeners sent in. So any comments on the floors of Love House, Aretha?
I like the floors of Love House. I know for me it's really similar to what I talk about in terms of just making sense of your past and your history and understanding that. And then just differentiation, referring to the process of striving to develop a sense of ourselves and our independent individuals. And then for me, it's also just seeking meaning. So in order to find ourselves, we must also seek out our own personal sense of purpose. So this means separating our own point of view from other people's expectations of us. And I know you talked a lot about that in terms of family expectations and people telling you what they see or what kind of partner that you should be with. And it means asking ourselves what our values are and what truly matters to us, and then following those principles, recognizing our own personal power. So when we know that what we want, we're challenged to take power over our own lives, and we're accepting ourselves as a power player. So I was like, when you said that, I was like, hey, Myrna, that's what I'm talking about, accepting ourselves as a powerful player in our own destiny. Because when we can harness our own personal power, then we can find and become our true selves. And then you mentioned silencing your critical inner thoughts, which I thought was really powerful because we have a lot of that. And in order to understand where that comes from, we have to challenge those thoughts and realize that a lot of the negative things we feed ourselves is kind of where we put ourselves in a rut. But we have to feed ourselves positive energy and say, hey, it's not about that person, it's about me. You know, maybe I burnt the toast, but that doesn't mean I'm a horrible cook, right? Because we need to practice on the toast. I can cook the lasagna, right? And then lastly for me is just friendship. I think we always forget about friendship. We're always looking for a partner. We look at how they look. We look at, you know, how they're moving up in the world and all this stuff. But we really need a friend because at the end of the day, when you are in a rut and they're in a rut, sometimes those similarities or that friendship really holds you together, because sometimes I need a friend. I don't really need, sometimes I do need the intimacy, of course, but sometimes I need someone to just hold my hand and talk to me. And so I would say, definitely looking for somebody who, hey, is like a friend first, someone you can really have those deep-rooted conversations with, but then somebody you can also be like intimate with and, share your life purpose with. Those are important too.
Oh, that's big. That's big in my list, friendship. So yes, I understand that totally. Yeah, because you need someone that you can talk to. Somebody who's got your back. You need a friend. So yeah, that's big, right?
Yeah.
Awesome. Yes. Loving our conversation. All right. So let's take our second break. And when we come back, we are going to answer some questions. So don't go anywhere. We're going to be right back. Are you in a deep hole of financial depression with nowhere to turn to for help? Constantly being harassed by collection agencies? Then Columbus Financial is here to help. Get the financial freedom that you deserve. Visit Columbus Financial and Success Coach today for help on financial planning, money management, debt management, credit repair, credit consulting, financial life coaching, and success coaching. Let one of our financial experts help you today. Get your financial and personal life back in perfect alignment. Visit our website at www.columbusfinancialcoach.com. Once again, that is www.columbusfinancialcoach.com, and dig yourself out of financial depression. Welcome back to the Transform Your Mind to Transform Your Life radio hour. I am Myrna Young, life coach, and in the co-host chair is Ms. Arifa Yusuf Mortley, registered social worker and mental health counselor. And today we are talking on the topic, the single life. So we have gone through and dissected, how to live in the meantime, how to prepare yourself for the relationship, where to find men or women if you're looking, and how to prepare yourself mentally and gain clarity on your past relationships. Arifa talked about expressing yourself and self-care and, learning from your mistakes and being comfortable with who you are and finding out who you are and things like that in our last segment. All right. So in my last episode, I mentioned that I would love you, the listener, to join my life coach group on Facebook for a couple of reasons. One, you can, if you have a struggle or something that you need help on, you can ask in the forum section of that group, and, the members of that group will answer. And, of course, I always answer. But then I thought, I will take one question and I will read it, or pose it to Arifa and have her, or have both of us actually, answer the question so that, we can, have some of our other listeners benefit from that answer. Because how many of you know that there's nothing new under the sun? If someone poses a question, it's not just limited to them. Lots of other people have the same problem. And as this first question is somebody that is a question that every single person would be interesting in the answer to. So here's a question from Marie. She said she lost her husband last year and don't know how to start over. Her husband died, by the way. And she wants to know what she should look for in a mate. So I'm answering this question because whether you're starting over or you're starting out, it's the same process. What do you look for in a mate? We have talked about where to find one and how to prepare yourself, but what do you look for in a mate? And I'm one that you have to set an intention. You have to know what you want. You have to know where you're going in life. You just have to know these things. And if you know these things, you will not believe what shows up. One of my coaching clients that came to me, and she was lost and afraid of being alone and in a relationship that was not making her happy, but she was a pleaser and all that. And I said to her, listen, you have to get out of that, and you have to go into a place where you imagine what you want every night. You imagine what you want, and you think about it, and you write it down. And I was even shocked that, in 2 months, came looking for her. A year later, she was married, and it was I couldn't even believe that it happened that quickly. So know what you want. So to answer the question from a life coaching perspective, I think that single women starting over or starting out should have a list of what they want in a man. And it should go deeper than tall, dark, and handsome. We all want that, but it needs to go deeper. You should have some common interests, be equally yoked, have the same standard of living, have the same religion, similar sex drive. You wouldn't believe how much that is a problem. Similar sex drive. And the list could be lengthy. And you got to remember that you're not going to get everything on your list. What you're shooting for is 80%, because they said that you're never going to get 100%. You're lucky if you get 80%. So that's what you're shooting for. So, Arifa, how would you answer Marie's question?
Well, first I want to acknowledge, a lot of women, or even just individuals in general that lose their life partner, it's really challenging because they're still going through that grieving process, and sometimes there's that guilt that lingers, and it's should I start over? How do I start over because of this loss? So I just want to acknowledge it's never easy after a significant loss when you're trying to start over, because that person that's passed away played a huge role in your life story, right? So moving forward, you want to know what type of role that's going to have in your life. Maybe it's your keeping that person a picture, a photo album, another keepsake, or maybe you're not, right? But you need to figure that out before you move forward. As sometimes, we feel guilty, which is normal, but it's also part to recognize as part of a grieving process. So allow yourself to acknowledge that first and acknowledge what that is, and determine what new reality are you hoping for in your, seeking of a new mate. So you can start with figuring out what you want, like Myrna talked about. I always recommend creating a love resume. It's good to write things on paper. So the love resume is just you writing down, the characteristics you're looking for, interests you hope they have. You can get all spontaneous. It's a chance to put everything on the table that you're looking for. I know people are like, I want this person to make $100,000 a year and drive a Lamborghini. That's, you can do that if you want. But also add in the other, key points for you that are really necessary. Do you want somebody that has, children? Maybe you have children and you're looking for someone else who has children, because maybe you don't want to have more children in the future, right? So you never know. Just kind of outline all the things you're kind of looking for. And then once that's done, you're kind of halfway there. to have a mindset and discover the possible spaces, or you may even have friends that know somebody that they think could be a good fit for you because you have common interests. So it's always nice to have those conversations with the people that really care about you and want to support you, because sometimes they know individuals they can, hook you up with, or you can hook yourself up with somebody, that kind of fits what's on your list.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah, I didn't address the grief part, so I'm glad that you did. But yeah, awesome. All right. Well, I hope Marie and anyone else that's either going through grieving or just wanted some advice on what to look for or where to start when they're looking for a mate, then that should cover most of it. All right. So my next question, this gentleman wrote in to the website and commented on our last episode, which we talked about fear and living a courageous life. So here is Steffi's question. Steffi lives in India, and this is what he writes. All I know is that I have great fear. I have some kind of burden in my mind, and I'm not able to figure it out. Every day I wake up in the middle of the night, and I have these panic attacks and stuff. I've tried meditation, but I'm not able to concentrate. I always wanted to be a motivational speaker, but I shiver when I start speaking in public. The more I try, the more I lose my hope and start to feel worthless. Please help. All right. Now, even though I talked about fear and I talked about, meditating and, infusing your body with courage, Steffi said that he's tried that and it doesn't work. So I'm going to pass this question right on to Arifa and see if she can, give it a mental health perspective on her answer.
So I want to say to Steffi, it sounds like it's impacting, your fear is impacting your daily routine, it sounds like, and the ability for you to accomplish your goals. And it's common for people when they're experiencing all this to lose hope, right? But you're not worthless, and help is available. So I would suggest it's helpful for you to monitor your daily routine just to see, like, what are you eating for the day? What are some events that are happening that may be causing you stress? Maybe it's work. Maybe it's certain situations. It could be a certain environment where you're in, that creates anxiety for you. Maybe you're drinking a lot of, caffeine or have a lot of sugar in your diet. So it's really good to just set up a daily routine of monitoring what's happening throughout the day, and when you're really feeling the highest levels of stress or you feel like you may be having a panic attack, and make an appointment. A lot of people do not make appointments to see their doctor when it comes to anxiety or fear, but it's really important because it impacts you physically and it's also impacting you emotionally and your ability to function in your life. So I would say make an appointment, see your doctor, tell your doctor, hey, I'm not sleeping well, I'm having these panic attacks, I feel really stressed out. So your doctor can have, give you some recommendations, professional advice on what can help you. In regards to public speaking, I would say it's helpful to practice writing stuff down. Write down what you want to say. Positive self-talk around being able to engage in this conversation or engage in the speech that you want to do. I would also say practice reading out loud what you wrote down or in front of a mirror just to prepare yourself, and the more you practice, the more confidence you'll get. And if you have a friend or family you feel comfortable around, I would say, and they're supportive, that's a really big one because sometimes we aren't always around the most supportive people. But if you have somebody that's supportive, I would say practice your motivational speaking on them so that you get comfortable before you can go into large crowds. Practice breathing exercise, drink lots of water. Herbal teas are really helpful in calming the nerves down. As well, I would suggest maybe watching videos or reading books from other motivational speakers, because sometimes they offer tips on like how they got to where they are, what was helpful for them to be able to speak to large audiences, and maybe you'll find the advice that they give may be helpful to you, because there are a lot of motivational speakers that have lived with fear and anxiety, and so they may be able to give you some tips too that you might find helpful for yourself.
Perfect. Oh, that was a very detailed answer. Awesome. Yeah. Yeah, he actually talked about quite a few things in there, and I'm glad that you addressed them all. He's got fear, and he's got panic attacks and anxiety, and so you gave a good answer on all that stuff. Yeah, so awesome. All right, well, we're coming to the end of our show, and I think that we covered a wide gamut on this topic, living the single life. So I want to thank you for staying with us until the end of this broadcast and, and listening. Please show your support by posting a review on iTunes or subscribing to the podcast if you like our content and you're inspired by our conversation. If you have topics that you would like Arifa and myself to cover, you can send me an email at info@myhelps.us or contact me on my website like Steffi did, which is myhelps.us/contact us. You can also contact Arifa at arifa@liftedbypurpose.com. I didn't give a bio of Arifa on this episode, but Arifa is the founder of Lifted by Purpose, and that is located at 180 Shaw Street, Suite 201 in Toronto. Their phone number is 416-391-5270. And Lifted by Purpose provides a diverse range of services to organizations seeking trainings, workshops, or programs with the intent to engage youth in conversations about mental health and learn practical strategies to cope with life stressors, including anger management, healthy relationships, mental health education and coping skills, youth engagement, and mental health first aid training. So contact Arifa if you need any help with anything, any of those services. If you feel that you need life coaching to take you to the next level in either your career or your personal life, you can also contact me on my website, which is www.myhelps.us. All right, so we are fresh out of time. Any last words, Arifa, before we wrap up?
No. This was a great show. I always love coming on and doing the work with you, Myrna, and I really hope we get more people, sending messages and really following the content because it's really nice to hear back from the audience and what they want to hear and see and everything else.
Yeah, it's very good to have feedback. It encourages us, right?
Yes.
Yes. All right. So thanks, everyone, for tuning in. Until next time, namaste.